Hello everyone, welcome to day 8 of the Battle for Zendikar spoiler season. I'm GC Smith, and let's get right into it with Beastcaller-Expert. 1 and a green for a 1/1 Elf Shaman ally with haste, and tap to add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Use this mana only to cast creature spells. Quite a reasonable card actually for a rare card. It has relevant abilities in the ally deck. Adds mana of any colour to your pool to help you cast the 5-colour ally deck, and has haste so that when you have one of those pump allies, this can swing for quite a bit in addition to the rest of your team. Outside of the ally deck, I don't think it's going to see much play. It's not really that great a replacement for Sylvan Caryatid, though I do have to say in a lot of creature-based decks, this probably is better than Honoured Hierarch. Always adding mana on turn 3 rather than sometimes adding mana on turn 3. And I don't know, with haste as well can be relevant in those decks, I guess, occasionally. Though I think a lot of decks are probably going to go Shaman of the Forgotten Ways now. This card is a decent card in certain decks. Next up, we have Complete Disregard. 2 and a black for a instant at common with Devoid and exile target creature with power 3 or less. A absolutely amazing limited removal spell. It hits all of the non-Eldrazi cards, so it's great in the Eldrazi deck. And will be making life miserable for a lot of players in draft. I know I'll pick up a few of these if I can get the chance, because honestly, being able to survive long enough to play your big Eldrazi cards like you'd want to, and fueling your processes is always going to be fun to pick up. So nice to see this kind of effect at common, and it's even viable as a standard removal spell if necessary. Exile is really big in this set, far better than killing creatures and putting them in the graveyard, especially with there being a lot of graveyard shenanigans. Complete home run card for me. I absolutely love it. Next up, we have Culling Drone. 1 in the black for a 2/2 Eldrazi drone with Devoid and Ingest. Vanilla bear, really, in the sense of being a 2/2 for 2. Devoid and Ingest obviously help it push through in limited. A great card, I guess, to pick up if you really want to fuel all your processors. Next up, we have Murk Strider. 3 in a blue for a 3/2 Eldrazi processor with Devoid, and when it enters the battlefield, you may put a single card an opponent controls from exile, or owns an exile, and put it into that player's graveyard. If you do, return target creature to its owner's hand. I guess people have been calling this Eldrazi of War. Or the Eldrazi Nullifier Mage, or whatever the mage in Magic Origins is. Decent card overall. 3/2 is a really relevant body in Limited. And with cards like Complete Disregard, its ability shouldn't be too hard to activate, especially if you have a couple of the Ingest cards here and there. Really cool card. At common, it's really nice to see, and again, is a reasonable card in Limited. Unlike Complete Disregard, though, I can't imagine this seeing much constructed play. Next up, we have Mind Raker. 3 in a black for a 3/3 Eldrazi processor with Devoid, and when it enters the battlefield, you may put a single card an opponent owns from exile into that player's graveyard. If you do, each opponent discards a card. Again, a reasonable limited card. This reminds me a lot of the raid trigger guy that just makes each opponent discard a card when it enters the battlefield. I'm not sure how relevant this will be, but a 3/3 for 4 isn't a bad body. The processor part isn't really that necessary, but a 3/3 for 4 at common is really good to see, and will probably be a key card of many of the sealed decks, at least in the Battle for Zendikar's pre-release. Next up, we have Benthic Infiltrator. 2 in a blue for a 1/4 Eldrazi drone with Devoid and Ingest. Oh, and it can't be blocked. This card is going to probably be a key piece at common of Eldrazi decks in Limited. It really helps you get your opponent's cards in exile to activate all your processors, and that's something you're really going to want. Any rare processor you pick up is going to be absolutely amazing, and you're going to want ways to help trigger them and keep them active. So Benthic Infiltrator is probably going to be a real pickup, especially since it can just sneak through a bit of damage there. And though we haven't had the full spoiler, all we need is a couple of pieces of equipment or a couple of buff enchantments. And Benthic Infiltrator is an absolutely amazing card. Next up, we have the Guul Draz Overseer, 4 black for 3/4 vampire rare with flying and landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, other creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. If that land is a swamp, they get +2/+0 instead. Kind of mediocre. 3/4 flyer for 6 isn't that great a body, and its landfall effect doesn't affect itself, so you do need to have other creatures on the battlefield for this to really have any effect. I really don't like this card, probably the worst of the cycle I've seen so far, and I would hate to see one of these at the pre-release. Limited playability is maybe just there if you have a Horde deck and desperately need to use this, but overall I consider this a real junk and absolute trash bin card. Next up, we have Drana, Liberator of Malakir, 1 black for a mythic rare 2/3 vampire ally legendary creature. Flying and first strike is already really good on this body, but it also has whenever Drana, Liberator of Malakir, deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on each attacking creature you control. Oh boy, this card's going to be amazing, not only in standard and limited, but even in modern and other formats. It pumps your entire team amazing, which is great in the black-white tokens deck. It's just got really good stats. Flying and first strike is amazing. This card will see lots of play, right? This card, if you can get it cheap, is a really good pickup card right now because it's going to see bucket loads of play. Not really sure if there's much else to say here because it's just so amazing. The card is obviously good, and I shouldn't need to spell it out for you. And finally today, for our new cards, we have Gruesome Slaughter, 6 mana for rare sorcery, with until end of turn, colorless creatures you control gain the ability to tap, and this creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. A reasonable removal spell at limited, especially in an Eldrazi deck, and quite possibly constructed playable, especially if a big Eldrazi deck does appear. Not amazingly powerful, and you do kind of want it in a deck with Vigilance, which there isn't going to be much of in colourless, I feel, unless they print some enchantments to really help in limited, or any playable enchantments to help this in constructed. Yeah, not a great card overall. Mediocre at best, I'd say, and limited fodder is probably where it's really going to end up. So that's all the spoilers for today. Hopefully we get some more real exciting stuff tomorrow. Not to say Drana isn't quite fun, but I'd like to see a little bit more. And then obviously Friday we're going to have the full set spoilers, so I'm going to try and go through that and pick up some of the best of the rest spoilers to pull out to you. And then maybe if I have time over the next week or so, I will be filming a set review, full set review, colour by colour, if you guys would want that. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video around, and I'll see you next time.